I mean, it's fear for one, but then the second thing is they make the huge mistake of going to their photographer friends and saying, "Hey, what are you charging?" Or, "Hey, are you getting booked? Oh, it's slow. Oh, I should lower my prices." And then the third mistake is every time somebody tells them they're too expensive, not necessarily in those words, but saying like, they don't book them, photographers believe people. You shouldn't believe people when they say that. The real question you should be asking is, why am I too expensive?
Hello, sunshine. You're listening to That Photography Girl, the podcast for photographers who are ready to get booked, market online, and finally take action in making it all happen. I'm your host and That Photography Girl, Rachel Traxler, wedding photographer, business coach, and your new photo bestie. Around here, we mix strategy with fun, real talk with results, and confidence with community, because I want to give you the strategy to be that photography girl. Hello, sunshine, and welcome back to the podcast. Today's episode is going to hit home for so many of us. If you've ever felt like you're working so hard, nonstop, but still kind of stuck charging way less than you probably should, or maybe you're sitting at that 3 to 4K mark with your weddings, you can't seem to break past that ceiling. This conversation is exactly what you need. I'm joined with the incredible Vanessa Joy, an internationally recognized wedding photographer and educator, to talk about the real money mistakes that photographers are making, the untapped marketing strategies that you probably aren't doing, and the CEO mindset shifts that you need to raise your prices and be able to book higher end weddings. We have an honest conversation about just encouraging you and what practical steps that you should take to start shifting your business today. So grab your notes app, pull them up, because this is one of those episodes you're going to want to come back to and reference. It's such a good one. And you know, I love to dive in around here. So let's get into it. Let's welcome Vanessa Joy. Yay, Vanessa. I'm so pumped you're here. I'm so honored to have you on the podcast today. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on, and you are just so knowledgeable and such a powerhouse in the industry. So it's just an honor to have you here, and I'm excited to kind of like pick your brain and talk about things. So you've been doing this for so long, and you kind of have insight on a lot of things. We're going to maybe talk about like marketing and stuff in today's episode. So I think a lot of photographers these days, like they feel like they're working really hard all the time, and just they're always working, but maybe not seeing the benefit, or kind of afraid. I've even had someone yesterday just say that, just straight up, that they were just scared to raise their prices and all of that stuff. I know you've seen a lot of photographers. So why do you think a lot of photographers underprice themselves? Like, where do you think that all comes from?
I mean, it's fear for one, but then the second thing is they make the huge mistake of going to their photographer friends and saying, "Hey, what are you charging?" Or, "Hey, are you getting booked? Oh, it's slow. Oh, I should lower my prices." And then the third mistake is every time somebody tells them they're too expensive, not necessarily in those words, but saying like, they don't book them, photographers believe people. You shouldn't believe people when they say that. The real question you should be asking is, why am I too expensive?
Oh, okay. I love that too. And it's when people ask other people too, I feel like it's so easy to compare and almost play victimhood a little bit of like, oh, they're
Yeah.
slow and they're not getting inquiries. That's probably why I'm not. Oh, it's okay.
Ex-
Everyone's just not getting it. It's like, well, no. Like, I understand to a certain extent, but what can you do to actually make it happen for yourself? Because what they're doing is, not necessarily what you should be doing in different markets and all that stuff too.
We want to commiserate a little bit, I think, and feel validated. We want some of it to not
Yes.
be our fault because it's a lot. We own a lot as photographers. Like we own so much of our business, our photos. So it's almost like a relief to be like, wait, this isn't my fault.
Right. Yes. It's validating. And even just in terms of pricing in general, what do you see? Because I feel like there's a lot of things that, again, photographers relying on other people or are just kind of comparing and all that stuff. But what do you think is the number one pricing mistake that you see that you're like, oh, just don't do that?
The biggest pricing mistake I see photographers make is that they don't know where their pricing comes from. They just pull some number out of thin air and they're like, okay, here's some pricing. And then there's feedback, there's negative feedback typically, and then they think, oh, I guess I should lower it. So the biggest mistake is just not knowing where the numbers come from, because the second you
Mhm.
actually know the math behind your pricing, you know how much it costs you to walk out the door to produce that job, to produce that wedding, then you say those prices with confidence, and you know that nothing lower is going to sustain an actual business and put food on
Uh-huh.
your table or buy the next lens.
Exactly. It's like there's so much power in knowing that. It's like, well, this just is what it is to have me be able to function and run a business and not just do things with not much take home. So yeah, I so agree with that. There's so much power in just knowing your numbers and all of that stuff. Back to kind of the just the confidence and all that stuff, but why do you feel like photographers struggle or just lack confidence when it comes to raising their prices? Besides like, you know, not knowing your numbers, maybe comparing with other photographers. Anything else that you feel like someone could hear?
I think raising your pricing is not a norm in the industry. And it's funny because we all experience it. The price of eggs go up, the price of
Yep.
gas goes up.
Yep.
Like the world's pricing inflates. But for some reason, we don't attach that to our own business. The truth
Uh-huh.
is, you should be raising your prices at least with whatever inflation is every single year, or you're actually giving yourself a pay cut.
That is so true because I don't know about you, but I'm getting like email after email on all these programs that I use of they're all saying the same thing. We're having a price increase, we're having a price raise. And so it's also, I think people forget to factor that into their cost of doing business too. Like as that's increasing, you know, adjust that in your spreadsheets, adjust that in your finances and kind of like you said, play along with that and adjust to it as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. As everything else goes up, we have to adjust our
Yeah.
pricing. I think a lot of the fear also with pricing just comes from the fact that most people don't know how to sell. They don't know how to pre sell before they even talk to the client. And then when they get on the phone, we do this thing called selling the plane ride instead of selling the vacation. Have you heard about
Ye
this?
I don't say it in that way, but I say it all the time of, like, the desired outcome versus the deliverables.
Same thing. And we get on a Zoom call or the phone and we start telling them about the plane ride instead of the vacation. So, for example, you want to sell a vacation, you're going to say, "Oh, okay, you're going to be sitting on the beach and you're going to have your feet in the sand and a mai tai in your hand and feel the warm sun on your face." You're not going to say, "Okay, you're going to pack your bags and you're going to go to the airport. Those bags are going to be overweight. You'll have to unpack them and rearrange them in front of everybody. It'll be super embarrassing finally until you get to TSA, where they'll probably break all of your camera gear right before they give you a light touch massage." That's what I like to call getting felt up at the TSA.
And then okay, this is such a good topic or good thing too, because then what happens is that opens the door for people to start asking questions about the deliverables or about the plane ride instead of the vacation or the desired outcome of, okay, well, are there going to be snacks in the plane? How close am I going to be seated to the bathroom? Am I going to have a window?
Right.
Like none of that matters because where you're going is what the focus is. And so that's where I almost feel like photographers are making that mistake in their marketing and messaging and selling, and that's why they're attracting these lower budget clients or they're stuck in these lower budget the clientele that they want to tap into the higher. It's like they don't realize their messaging and marketing needs to shift to speak into that.
And it's along any spectrum of what people are spending, because what you're doing when you
Yeah.
sell the plane ride is you're activating the logical side of their
Uh-huh.
brain. And the logical
Uh-huh.
side of their brain is going to start thinking about money instead, and, dollars and cents and
Yep.
statistics, whatever, instead of thinking about the value and the outcome
Mhm.
that you're bringing as a photographer and attributing that value to the dollar sign versus the logistics to the dollar sign.
Yes. Okay, I love this too because I even talk about when you're doing phone calls with people or even just what you're doing because a lot of people I think they'll get maybe a lot more logical thinker inquiry where they are just here's my venue, what's your price, all of that stuff and then they kind of think, "Oh, they're not my ideal client." It's like, well, not necessarily. Like, hold on. They're just in that left brain thinking and you need it's kind of maybe your job to shift them into left brain thinking into the more emotional, like right brained creative side of thinking too, because that's going to kind of be the difference. Like you said, Vanessa, the logical thinking and the questions versus the desired outcome, the vacation, all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So that's such a good point. Do you feel like that kind of what holds people back from tapping into a higher clientele market or what do you feel like maybe holds people back? Because I think a lot of people are obviously they're wanting to tap into a higher clientele and a higher market. They want to charge more. What do you feel and see is the big difference to be able to do that?
The question photographers have to ask themselves is, when that ideal client comes your way, are you actually the ideal photographer for them? Normally, it's branding that has to come first. And nobody wants to sit there and create my ideal client because we've all heard that. And we've
Yes.
all heard oh, where do they shop? Where they whatever. But the truth is, if you don't sit there and write it down, you won't understand them. You won't be able to relate to them. You won't be able to connect with them, whether it's when they first hit your website or they actually talk to you. So
Mhm.
most photographers are struggling not even with the pricing. Like those people would have paid your prices. You weren't the right photographer for them, or at least you weren't presenting as the right photographer for them.
It's one of those things where it sounds like you said, it's like we've all heard it a million times, but no, have you actually sit down and done it? Like, do you actually have it? Because that's like
Mhm.
the biggest thing. Because people are like, yeah, well, yeah, I've heard that before, and I have an idea, but they don't actually have it. And then you can't even create your messaging and marketing plan around it if you don't have those things. So it's like such a good place to start too. And I don't know about, I'm sure for you, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, even as my business has grown and evolved, that changes. And so going back to that to change that then directly affects and changes my marketing and my messaging and my copy. And so it's like you kind of have to go back as you grow and kind of tweak things along the way again.
And as you grow, but also as your clients shift. So the
Yeah.
wedding industry is like my bread
Yeah.
and butter, right? And that typical client, age range, the
Uh-huh.
culture has shifted drastically from
Yeah.
like, 25 years ago, whatever, when I started shooting weddings. And if you're not keeping up with that, I see it all the time. You just get super irrelevant and cranky
Yeah.
because you're like, I don't want to deal with these idiot Gen Z people. Well, you know what? Then guess what? They're not going to want to deal with you
Yes.
either.
Oh my gosh, that is such a good point. That is such a good point. 'Cause it's like we all age, and so the older we get, the more it's like, do we wanna speak to people still our age, or are we still gonna market to the younger, younger people who are getting married and stuff like that? It's like, yes, you have to adjust, which I love that kind of is a good segue into like, let's maybe talk about some marketing stuff because you are a money, pricing, marketing whiz, all of those things. What do you feel like is maybe an underrated marketing strategy that photographers aren't using that they should? Because there's so many ways, and I love to hear what everyone has to say.
They're not networking correctly. It is the biggest mistake that I see photographers make because honestly, posting on social media or running ads, right? Those are almost like not that they're easy, but they're almost like you can get quick wins or you can
Yes.
get quick feedback, especially if
Yes.
you know how to run an ad campaign.
Uh-huh.
But you're never going to get longevity from that. Networking within your community, one, it's free, costs your time, and maybe if
Yep.
you're giving gifts or something.
Yep.
But secondly, it's your repeat clientele. I mean, and the reason why so many people don't do this is you don't get your ROI right away, and it's not guaranteed who you're getting it from. So you're doing this work, putting in the work to try to build your network, relationships, and you might not see a payday. I had one videographer that I had known for a decade, probably more, probably 15 years, before he sent me his one client. But once client was a corporate one, and it repeated, and then he sent me weddings since then. That one relationship I've made well over $350,000 from. But
Wild.
yeah, and no ad spend, no dollars,
Yeah.
but I'm sure I paid for his drinks or dinner here and there.
I think that weighs out.
Yeah, I love tax deductible friends.
Yeah, right? Okay, that I also think is such an underrated thing because nowadays everything's so digital, and,
Mhm.
like, back when especially, like, when you started and I started, that kind of was the thing, you had to go in person, and things online and digitally weren't they were there, but in-person networking was just kind of how I started as well, and now everything's so online that it's just almost like the cop out, the easy not saying
Yeah,
obviously we live like, you and I live in different parts of the US. It's not like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna go fly to you and we can hang out for a day and whatever." Obviously, there's times that it works and is okay online, but I think locally, it's one of those things that you should not sleep on.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
And besides, you wanna make friends. Like, you go
Yes.
to work, you
Oh
spend a
gosh.
lot of times working, you might as
Uh-huh.
well work with your friends.
Exactly, and just make you just kinda it's nice to have connections, and it's nice to connect people together. I love nothing more than a photographer or a client or someone coming to me being like, needing something or asking of a certain service, and I can say, "I know exactly who to connect you with," or, "I think you 2 would be really good together. I love connecting people that
You're a
way. And so
connector.
yeah, yes, and so the more people you know, it's fun to do that and connect other people too, which I really, really love. What do you think is the best way for someone to start networking in like locally with people? If they're like, I don't really know where to start. Do I just reach out to people? How do I get involved? What have you seen that you like?
The biggest ways to get is just get in the room with people. Look at your local photography organizations or your local photography stores. You
Yeah.
can do that. Anything industry related, whatever your industry is, there's always something going on. And even if you can find nothing, go find a charity. Go find a
Oh,
charity that you
yeah,
can donate your photography to, or
yep,
auctions, or,
yeah.
you're going to get in the room with people, and naturally your network will grow.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that's definitely something to put effort and energy into, and I love that. And also kind of on the marketing standpoint, you definitely work with, I think, higher end clients with weddings. What do you think is the biggest difference in marketing between a higher end client and maybe a lower or like mid-range wedding client? Why do you think the marketing looks different?
Higher end clients, the marketing is mostly relationship built.
Yeah.
Higher end clients are not sitting there Googling or chat GTPing
Mhm,
their wedding plans away.
mhm.
They're going to a planner, they're
Yep.
going to a hall, a floral designer that they love, and they book from there. I
Yep.
have never seen ads work for higher end.
Mhm.
They work for mid to higher to
Yep.
lovely, but I've never again, my $1 billion client that I photographed this year, it was from a relationship.
Yep.
No way in a million years would she sit there and try to find her own client or even respond to an ad that popped up.
No, they're probably not even on social media most of the time, or
Barely.
they're
Yeah,
busy.
most of my
Busy.
higher end clients don't touch it
Yeah,
because privacy.
yeah,
Yep,
exactly, and so that's something really good to know, and just a really good reminder for people of shifting your mindset and of just, like, asking where you're at right now. Maybe you are in that lower end or mid-range, more premium, and these things can work for you, but if you really wanted to tap into that's kinda what's cool about this is you can kind of build both at the same time.
you can.
Like, you
You can
can
dance
still
in
do
both.
that. Yeah, and that's what's cool as you start to maybe work your way and tap into that higher like, you can do both of those things at the same time. So I
You
think that's
can.
really, really cool.
And you should actually be
Yeah.
doing both of those things at the same time, because you should be serving the level that you're at, making sure you're paying your bills, have a good foundation, and then you should be looking forward to the next thing, which may or may not be going higher in your luxury level. It could be whatever it is, but you should always be working on something that's not paying you yet.
Yes. Ah, that's such a good point too. It gives you, like, something to work towards while you're still building what you have to. You're so good. You've run your business and your company for so long. So talking about, like, just CEO mindset, like,
Yes.
because once you start raising your prices and your demand increases and you're booking these higher end clients and you're really just really running a solid business, what changes do you think need to be made to start running your business like a CEO instead of emotionally running it? Because I think when we talked about pricing, a lot of us are maybe emotionally attached to our prices or emotionally attached to client responses and all that stuff. How do you switch from that to business CEO?
It's emotionally attached to our processes too, or
Yeah.
thinking that we
Uh-huh.
have to do it all.
Yes.
I call this in my mastermind, I call this your CEO strategy. And I find it's where most photographers have the I don't want to say weakness, just like not tapped into what they should be
Yeah.
doing yet. So, some of the shifts that you have to make is not only can you not do it all, but the truth is you shouldn't do it
Mhm.
all. Because if you want to raise the level of service, quality, product, whatever you're giving your clients, you're not the best at everything, period.
Yeah.
Other people are. So, you should be hiring the best possible, I don't know, retoucher, editor,
Yep.
graphic designer, whatever it is, to give your clients the best possible experience from start to finish. So that's a big thing that I looked at: client experience, and how are they experiencing their time with me, and where can that be elevated, where can that be raised, and who do I need to hire in order to do that, because I can't do it all myself, because then I'm not present with my clients and I forget who they are and what we talked about, and you
Yeah.
can't do that in the luxury field.
No. Yeah, that's such a good point too, and I can already hear people just being like, "I can't afford to outsource right now." How do you factor into your pricing? How do you kind of balance it out? what do you say to people who are maybe at that breaking point? Because I've seen it a lot with even just the photographers in my coaching program too, of just they're burnt out, but they don't want to spend, they're already spending so much money. They still want to, continue to be profitable, all these things. What would you say to someone like that who's kind of just scared to invest into that?
Well, you have to analyze it first, right? Because you shouldn't just throw money at whatever it is that you think might
Yep.
help you. You should analyze where you need the help. So I actually have 5
Mhm.
rules for things that you should
Perfect.
be streamlining or
Come
outsourcing.
on.
Yep. It's 1, anything that you're not good at. 2, anything that you hate doing. 3, anything that slows you down. 4, anything that someone else could do better for you. And the 5th one is anything that you could pay someone else less than your typical hourly rate. So if on average I make $50 an hour and I could have, I don't know, assistant come in and pack some marketing bags, ship out marketing materials for $25 an hour, then that's a good use of an outsource. So those 5 things. And then there are 2 ways you have to be ready for it. One, financially, but 2, emotionally. And believe it or not, the emotional part is much more difficult than the financial because the
I
financial is just
believe that.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, the financials numbers. Pick a small thing. Pick, I don't know, having an assistant come to every single job to make sure they get BTS for you so that you have better social presence. That's going to cost you 50 to $100. That no like that hopefully isn't breaking the bank for you. It's more the emotional like letting go of
Mhm.
things. I probably wouldn't start with editing, outsourcing your editing yet. Maybe I'd streamline that first with something like Imagine AI that will
Yep.
do your culling and editing for you. And then when you feel like that's good, then, and raise your prices. Again, if you're raising your prices with inflation, maybe you do another 5% on top of inflation to slowly raise prices to be able to afford these things.
Yeah. I love that framework too, and just add it in to counteract what you are going to outsource and just account that for your pricing and all that stuff. And it's like you said, the numbers part's easy. Just plug in the numbers. It's and that
Hmm.
numbers aren't shouldn't be as emotional, but it is the emotional
Yeah.
attachment to everything else. And I just
It's
feel like as photographers, most of us are probably just right-brained creatives. And so we're just very emotionally attached to a lot of things. And I do think that's where running a photography business kind of butts heads and like the CEO mindset and all that stuff, because you have to kind of have that logical left brain, CEO mindset along with the emotions and have a good balance of the two, I think.
You do. And you have to realize the things that you notice versus what your clients notice, right?
Yes.
There's
Yes.
like an 80-20 rule. Like we notice 100% of, every little thing in a photograph, for example, they notice maybe 70%. So I'm not telling you to half-ass anything you do. I'm just saying notice the difference between what you notice and what your clients notice because they won't notice, a photo that's 80% to your liking, but they'll notice you delivering it late.
Yes. Yes, exactly. It's like delivering late, but maybe you notice that you're focusing on that, but then they're thinking about just the communication and the experience and the
Right.
resources they've been provided or how they're experiencing. So it's yeah, you definitely have to put yourself in the client journey and see how they're experiencing it.
Mhm.
And that's something so important. And it's kind of good to know what, you know, their needs are and stuff like that to kind of speak or just have different areas in your workflow that kind of speak to different types of people so that they can consume it however they are, that you have something for them. So I think that that's really important too. But I love this, Vanessa. So if just thinking about photographers listening, maybe they're in that lower to mid range, they want to, start tapping into a higher marked clientele, all that stuff. What do you think is the first step that you would tell them? Like action. I love action steps. So like today, if you were to tell them today what to do, what would you say?
I would get help actually, because most of the time we can't see what we can't see and we
Yeah.
don't know what we don't know. So I would get another opinion, have another photographer look at it. Honestly, have your mom look at it because moms pick out everything.
Moms are picky.
They do, but having another set of eyes on your brand and the experience is crucial because we're a little blind to something, so we just don't know what to look at. The second thing is survey all of your past best clients and ask them why they booked with you. Ask them where they shop. Like, get their client profile so that you can plug that into understanding your client avatar and create your client avatar. So, as many outside eyes and opinions that are valid,
Yes.
go ahead and get them, and you'll start to see some things that need to change.
That's such a good idea too, because then, like I said, then you can start using that in your copy and in your messaging and in your marketing, and you're gonna use that. It's almost like getting your marketing handed to you. Like, here's exactly what
Exactly.
you should do. Like, yeah, you're surveying people and they're kinda telling you what they're guiding you in what you should do. I think that's such a good idea, Vanessa. That's like the easiest way. It's like someone
Yeah.
just telling you, "Okay, this is what I should do." I love
Yeah,
that.
and, I know people when I say that, they're like, "Ugh, but that's not gonna get me more leads." Well, yes, it will, because the
Yeah.
people that actually land on the page that are your ideal client will
Yep.
then contact you.
Yep.
So it definitely will help, but if I want can I
Yes. Yes,
satisfy that
please.
thirst that I
Please.
know people are having? If you want, like, a really comprehensive marketing plan, once you've set yourself up and your first impression is gonna be good, I have something I call guerrilla marketing strategy that combines networking, social media, and search engine optimization or ChatGTP optimization. That's like all rolled into one
Yes.
marketing initiative. I don't really talk about this anywhere. So if whoever's listening, you can go to my Instagram. It's at Vanessa Joy, Vanessa, and just send me a DM with the words guerrilla marketing. You can spell gorilla GOR or GUE. I don't care. It doesn't matter. My ManyChat
However,
trigger will respond to any of it,
who
and
knows?
I will give you this marketing plan. It's very comprehensive marketing plan that's total practical tips that are built on strengthening relationships, but it's also going to help social media, search engine, and everything else. So it's a
Love
good one.
that.
But
Love
be
that.
ready for the traffic first.
Yeah. Exactly, you have to be ready for it. So that's something that a lot of people don't realize, or they do it backwards too. So that's something
They do, and
to
it's
do.
like they pay or they waste their time to give themselves a bad reputation, and there's, like, no walking back from that.
Yeah. No.
It's very
No.
difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely you wanna do it in the right order first, so you don't have to go back. So that's really good point. And I love to end my episodes by just asking you what's bringing you joy right now.
Oh, this sounds so self-serving, but my mastermind is bringing me
I
such
love
joy right now.
No, I love that.
Yeah, it's selfish because I mean, I've built multiple multi-million dollar businesses, and I love that for me, right? But
Yes.
at the same time, that takes a lot of work, and I get the same satisfaction helping other photographers have those massive
Mhm.
wins in
Mhm.
monetary and whatever it is that we're working on. um, I get the same amount of joy watching them succeed as I ever have succeeding for myself. It's
I
been so
can
great.
relate to
And I
that.
don't have to do the legwork because they do the legwork.
I can relate to that so much. It's just such a blessing. There's just nothing it's so cool to just see that happen for other people, and it's so cool to be able to serve them and bless them with that. So I love that you're
It
doing that.
is.
You're making awesome impact in the wedding industry. I love it so much. And I'm so thankful that you were able to come on the episode today. So yes, tell us where we can find you.
Instagram is usually where I hang out the
Yeah.
most. If you're interested in anything else, like, just go to vanessajoy.com. Vanessajoy.com. You can see my corporate work, you can see my wedding work, and then there's a little tab there for photographers. You'll see the mastermind, you'll see all the other courses and fun things I have in the community and all of that. So just vanessajoy.com.
Love that. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on here today. We really, really appreciate it. You're awesome. Okay, that was such a powerful conversation, a good conversation. I love it so much. She gave us so much gold on pricing and money mistakes and how to step into your role as a CEO. I love that so much. Here's my biggest takeaway. You do not have to stay stuck at charging the 3 to 4K weddings. You can raise your prices, you can attract those dream clients, and you can run a business that pays you what you're worth if you're adjusting to the times, if you know your numbers, if you have confidence in that. That's, I think, at the end of the day, the takeaway. And also just stepping out of your comfort zone. doing some in-person networking. And it's really, really encouraging that you can be doing these things at the same time of what you're currently doing. So you can be working towards your next goal while you're still doing what you're doing. I think that's a really, really important reminder for all of us to tell ourselves. So if you loved today's episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a photographer friend who needs this reminder, and then tag me at Rachel Traxler so that I can also cheer you on too. And also, if you're new here, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on future episodes, because this is where we dive into real strategies and grow and book out your photography business. But thank you so much again for listening. I appreciate you so, so, so much. Keep shining, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for hanging out on That Photography Girl. If this episode gave you life, screenshot it and tag me at Rachel Traxler so more photographer friends can find us. And if you're ready to really finally grow your business, come join us inside That Photography group on Facebook. Until next time, keep shining, keep showing up, and keep being that photography girl.